3, 2.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Nasdaq IR Insight Live. I'm your host, Will Briganti, and joining me today as my guest is Alana Basova. She's a senior analyst at Nasdaq's Strategic Capital Intelligence team. Alana, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Will.
All right, great to have you back on the program. So today we want to talk about activism, the current activist landscape, and the new Activist360 product. So let's first kick off with what the current activist landscape is like today. Walk us through that.
Sure. So in order to best define the activist landscape, it's best to take a step back and try to understand, what a typical activist investor looks like today. And when we hear activist investor, we usually envision this aggressive hedge fund telling you have too much cash on the books, telling you to, issue a buyback, increase your dividend. But in reality, activism has evolved far beyond this point. And right now, this evolution has been prompted by two distinct catalysts that are now driving not only active investors, but also index investors and active managers to redefine the level of risk within their respective portfolios.
Okay.
So those two catalysts are as follows. So the first one pertains to, increasing the index money in the marketplace. And as we know, index managers don't have the luxury of discretion, meaning they cannot divest subjectively, and that adds a distinct vulnerability to their asset owners, meaning entities whose money they manage, such as pension funds, endowments, etc. So the asset owners, in turn, have been pressuring tremendously the asset managers to start and recalibrate the level of risk within their portfolios. And that inevitably leads them to turn to the ESG framework and activist framework because they cannot divest. Okay, and the second catalyst is the evolution of the balance sheet. So as we know, intangibles have been growing rapidly, intangibles such as brand value, customer loyalty, intellectual capital. And these intangibles are very hard to quantify. And therefore, because of that, the managers now are facing this situation where it's really hard for them to identify the value of their investment, and they once again have to turn to ESG framework to try and find some answers.
Okay, understood. Now you mentioned they're trying to find answers. So answers and information seems to be kind of a common theme as it relates to activism. So from the investor relations perspective, talk to us a bit about Activist360.
Right. So the activist framework has undergone tremendous expansion over the past 12 to 18 months. And due to these developments, we identify the need for our clients now not only to know where they're vulnerable, but also which fundamentals underlie and drive those vulnerabilities.
Right, of course.
And the framework, the Activist360 provides just that. Additionally, it helps you benchmark against your peers, which provides this, elevated perspective and a completely new vantage point for you to view your positioning and how others view you, and that leads clearly to a tremendous amount of competitive advantage.
All right, excellent. All right, well, Alana, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much for that terrific insight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Alana Basova. She's a senior analyst with Nasdaq's Strategic Capital Intelligence team. Actually, for more information on some of the insight that Alana can share, be sure to check out an article that was published yesterday by thestreet.com about some moves by central banks based on a study from Invesco that Alana's quoted in. We'll post the link on the tweet here. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back to you with another episode of Nasdaq IR Insight Live later this week. Thank you again. Thank you.